You've done some crazy things in this business, been in the real estate business a long time. We were just talking leading up to this, and when crazy deals happen in real estate, as I always say, they're some of the best business stories that could possibly be out there. Is acquiring real estate, developing real estate. It's always about the people. It's about things that happen on title. It's about things that happen with the people, the sellers, the buyers. It's rarely the interesting stuff and the stuff you look back on and you went, man, I can't believe we got through that. Is rarely about, sometimes maybe, about the development of the physical property. I guess that can happen sometimes, but mostly it's usually about the people. The interesting stuff's about the people. So you've encountered a lot of people. I want to hear later about some of the things you've done in this business, but first, you got a crazy deal story about something that happened in New Jersey and a property you developed and a piece of land that you bought, and I want to hear all about it. Tell me about that.
Yeah, indeed. It was actually, we had this office, real estate office in Northern Liberties. We opened it up, I believe it was sometime around 2001, 2002.
The heyday of Northern Liberties, when things were really starting to turn.
Northern Liberties was just coming into what it is today, but it was the beginning. Numbers were really low, but action started to develop. Youngsters start to come into the neighborhood and things start to pick up. So we opened up a small brokerage, a partner of mine, L. Today's a sizable developer.
Mm-hmm.
And we start hiring agents, and we obviously, the core of our business was really acquiring properties, and we developed some of them and so on.
You were focused on Northern Liberties at that time.
Northern Liberties. We're talking about 8 city blocks, literally. That's all there was to it. Later we expanded there. We did some things outside Northern Liberties. But this particular case, I purchased a few lots on North 3rd Street. And in between these lots, I purchased them from an estate. The hair was in Florida. It was times that people still, could care less about their Philadelphia properties. They were, just overwhelmed with taxes and other fees and violations and all that. So you could pick them up for a song, really. Yeah. So I picked up a few properties on North 3rd and going all the way to Oriana. And there were a bunch of lots, about 8 of them. And in between these lots was one sizable lot, about 8,000 square feet, that nobody knew of who the owners are, where they are, or anything like it. I was approached by a friend of mine that was also in the business, a fellow named Doug. And he told me that he found the owner in Texas. It so happened that the owner, Jack Lynch, was a developer in the 80s in that area in Northern Liberties and other parts of town. And he had this project on 4th Street, around 20-some apartments that he converted from shells. He had a loan from a bank that ceased to exist by the time we were there, Continental Bank. Yeah. And he took a $4 million construction loan. And he attached with this loan was additional security, was that particular lot that I'm talking about, which is 1010 North-1012.
So the lot was cross-collateralized.
It was
for a loan that was really intended for these 20 units.
That is correct. Right. It was a $4 million loan, so cross-collateralized. The bank foreclosed on it. Continental Bank vanished, but the loan remained against that particular lot.
Mm-hmm.
We made contact with Jack Lynch, and we told him, listen, we're willing to take this. We'll buy the property from you. We offered him, I don't remember, I believe it was like $100,000. And we purchased the lot from him subject to all liens, including the $4 million lien mortgage that was there. And we found out that PNC Bank was the bank that acquired the assets of Continental Bank, the late Continental Bank.
And why did you purchase it subject to? Did you have an idea that you were going to be able to go to the lender and convince them to release this from the mortgage?
No.
The plan?
That was the plan, but we had no idea what we're up against. But
so you just took a risk. You gambled a little.
We gave him a deposit of $20,000, and we said, okay, we want a few months to do our due diligence.
To work it out, okay.
The money was hard, and he had nothing to lose, basically.
And were you getting such a great deal on this thing, you felt that it was worth taking this chance?
It would have been a great deal if we will be able to get rid of the $4 million mortgage.
Right, got it. Okay.
It was absolutely a fantastic deal. So we approached PNC Bank,
Mm-hmm.
and we sent them. They sent us to the legal department. Legal department asked to see a copy of the title report. We sent it to them. The next thing we know, they sent us a release of mortgage, and they recorded it.
That's simple.
We didn't even ask of that. That's what happened.
Never happens in my world. I have to beg people to release the mortgage.
Well, when banks acquire other banks, they buy the good assets.
Yeah.
They don't care about the bad one. That's what I found out in many cases. So they're willing to just let it go and not deal with that.
Yeah.
Regardless of the amount, that was significant. It was $4 million. It was, I do not know what they thought, but that's what it was.
Right.
At the same time, an agent of mine is having her father buy. The father was a builder, developer. He's buying 2 lots from me on the same block, and he's putting 2 homes over there. At the same time, adjacent to him is that particular lot. Without me knowing, he researched the lot. He found out that PNC Bank has the mortgage. He goes to PNC Bank in Pittsburgh, the main office.
Mm-hmm.
I was dealing with Tinicum office, and he was dealing with
Pittsburgh
with headquarters.
Right.
And he make them an offer of $10,000 to buy the mortgage. And he buys the mortgage. The one thing he didn't do, he never recorded.
I was going to say, is this after they released it or before?
Before.
So he bought it before they released it. They released it and they didn't even really have to own it or have the right to.
Well, actually, he did it before.
Yeah, he bought it before
He bought it before.
Right.
What he didn't do, he never recorded the assignment.
Mm.
So basically, this thing called a constructive notice that you have to put on record to show that it's now yours was never recorded. So he bought it, and he decided, and his intention was to foreclose and take over the property by means of foreclosure.
Yeah.
And as he built these 2 houses, he talks to me about it and all that. He said, "By the way, I bought this lot." And I said,
so he's run under your nose, and you didn't even know it until it came up.
Oh, he's
right.
Well, his daughter was my agent.
Right.
She was a fantastic young woman, really nice. He was a very nice person, also, Don McCoy. And I told him, "I'm sorry, but you did not buy this property. I bought the property." And he goes, "No, I bought it." I said, "Explain to me how." I said, "Well, I bought the mortgage. Now I'm foreclosing." I said, "I'm sorry. I bought the property and the mortgage was satisfied by the bank." So he goes to his attorney, and I'm on standby. I know I'm going to talk to my attorney.
Yeah.
So now something crazy happens. He files a lawsuit against me and against PNC Bank. And
PNC Bank, I can see. I mean,
PNC Bank was at fault.
Yeah,
Basically, they sold him something, and he's suing them for $4 million.
They sold them. They shouldn't have released the mortgage to you. They didn't have the right to do that at the time that they did it.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
Right.
They sold him the mortgage before they released the mortgage.
What's interesting?
So one department did not know what the other department was doing.
Yeah. What's crazy about these things is the signing of these documents, releases, mortgages, assignments. Mm-hmm. The signing of it is the legal action, right? That is the activity taking place.
That is correct.
But if it's not recorded and it's not in public notice,
that is correct.
Then courts are usually side with what's been recorded because they have.
That is correct. Usually. That's why it is what's called constructive notice. Yes. You have to put it on record for everybody to know.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, then it's still valid.
Yes, it is. But
the parties involved, I bought it in good faith.
Right.
It was done in good faith and all that. So he's suing PNC for huge losses. Mm-hmm. I forgot what it was. It was in the millions that he stood to lose. And PNC immediately does something crazy. They rescind the satisfaction.
Your release. They rescinded a release.
Really. So what they do is that they file something called an erroneous satisfaction. And basically they take the satisfaction out, and now the mortgage is back against my property. Now I own the property at this point.
And you may have done something with it in the meantime based on the fact that they already had a
redesigning a subdivision to do 4 homes and all that, and Doug and I, and now not only that, PNC is suing me for some kind of conspiracy. So they thought that I conspired with Jack Lynch to swindle them, to remove that, and
even though they sold the mortgage and then satisfied it after they got the money to buy the mortgage.
They realized later that one department sold, one department released.
Right.
So now we have, and I'm suing PNC Bank for satisfying the mortgage and then filing an erroneous satisfaction. So we're 3 parties. Everybody's suing. Everybody. So so now things develop. So we're going to depositions and we're going through the process and all that. We engage an attorney that was really nice, but it wasn't really up for the job. Mr. Whitman, it was good, but we were
over his head.
We were against 2 big law firms.
PNC's hiring.
We are an Associates, is a really good law firm. Susan Verbonitz was the fantastic attorney for the bank, for PNC.
Maybe part of the strategy. They're just going to drown you in lawyers, perhaps.
Right. Sure. So we switch horses. We hire Fox Rothschild. And Fox Rothschild does a couple of great things. He engages the title insurance. And the title insurance is now.
Did you have title on it when you bought it?
Yes, we did.
Oh, boy.
We bought it with title. Luckily for us, we bought it with, once they released the mortgage.
Yeah. That is a title claim? I don't know. So I want to hear the rest of the story.
It is. It is a title claim, because when we bought it, there was
no mortgage.
A release of the mortgage. The mortgage was satisfied.
Right.
I forgot if they released it or they satisfied one of these things. Well, it's the same.
Basically the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So we are now in a fight, and they really think that we have something to do with this Jack Lynch.
Right.
Well, actually, it made sense. We called the company that purchased it One Lynch LLC. So they really thought that we have to do something with that. So
yeah. Was that a coincidence?
No,
he was going to be your partner.
The person was fascinating. Jack Lynch was fascinating. It was all the stories that what he did and what he went through, including his involvement with your previous guest here.
Yeah.
Toby.
Yes.
And it was we were very impressed with him. So we're going to call the company. We're going to retain your name in your legacy, and we're going to call the company that buys it One Lynch LLC,
which maybe wasn't the best idea. The optics
in retrospect, it was horrible.
Right.
That's what triggered the lawsuit against us.
Yeah, right. That makes sense.
From PNC. So now we have 2 fronts, and each one of the parties has 2 fronts on his hand. The lawyers for PNC eventually realized that we really, at the deposition, they thought that we were all in cahoot. I was in cahoot with Jack Lynch and also with McCoy.
Right.
And they said, no, you worked it out to sue us. Everything is too close. His daughter is working for you. You sold him properties.
Yeah.
And the other guy is.
You can't blame him for thinking that. I'd probably think that too. You probably would think that too if you were them in Pittsburgh, all that way away, and didn't know.
Indeed. But they made a mistake. But once we got the title insurance involved and assisting in our defense, we were in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
See? So
title.
Yeah, these things get title.
To the rescue.
So stage 1, they realized that there was nothing like that with when McCoy was building his 2 homes on the lot that I sold him.
Yeah.
That are next door to this lot. When I found out that he's suing me, I refused to allow him to use the lot that is now mine as a staging area for his building.
Right.
And he did modular homes over there. So he had to put a crane there and all that. There was no way around it. It's a really narrow street. St. John Newman Way, really narrow street. You can't do it.
I know that street. Yeah.
And I called the police.
You barely fit a car down there.
So we called the police basically. And we told him, listen, the guy is trespassing on our lot.
Right.
and he went nuts and all that. Now he has, the $10,000 a day crane over there, and the boxes are there, and trucks and everything. The streets are closed and all that, and we refuse to allow him to use the lot. He's suing me, right?
Right.
So eventually, his daughter called me, and I allowed him to go ahead and set up the houses.
On the condition that he dropped the suit?
No, not at all. I knew that he cannot get it.
Yeah.
He had no case. It was his fault, basically, for not recording the assignment, which later I find out that it wasn't even, when we looked at the document, on technicality, it was not notarized, so it was not really a recordable document.
Yeah, it wasn't recordable and not valid.
So it was really it was literally handwritten agreement that he bought it. I thought it was fake, but it was not. He paid him $10,000 for it. So he went ahead and he sued the PNC, and he ended up settling that with them. But he refused to let go. PNC withdrew the lawsuit against me, and they revived the satisfaction. So now they said, okay, listen, David is suing us for the erroneous satisfaction. We worked out the deal with you. We paid you. It's agreed. So we're putting back the satisfaction.
In concert with his settlement. So they paid him. Now it's satisfied.
Correct.
Right, whatever.
But he continues to sue me.
Right.
Thinking that, I said, listen, I still have a mortgage. I'm going to foreclose. So he's continuing to push the foreclosure. And
but at that point, he didn't have a mortgage because there was PNC had the mortgage. They satisfied. A condition of his settlement with them, I would imagine, would be.
But for him, we do not know the extent of the agreement, what they had between them. Eventually, in court, we get the documents not in court, in one of the hearings. We get a copy of we subpoena that agreement they had.
Yeah.
And we find out he received $300,000. It's not bad for $10,000 investment.
Right. It's pretty good return.
But he was, I don't know, he tried to get something from us. We ended up going to the court. He brought his attorney. And in front of the judge, my attorney from Fox Rothschild, Ed Hayes.
I know Ed Hayes.
You know Ed Hayes?
Sure.
Ed Hayes is an authority on fighter.
Yeah.
He's a legend. He's nothing short of it. He's probably the most knowledgeable.
Yeah, probably.
So we started at the hearing, and the attorney goes to the judge. Well, I didn't think that I'm coming to an actual court hearing. I thought it's just a pre-trial. And the judge goes, no, this is it. This is it.
It's a show.
You have to represent your client now. So their attorney asked to stop the trial and go have water. So, and that was the end of it. It was over.
They were done. They were not.
So it didn't.
They were just trying to drag it out and force you to settle.
No, not at all. He was so dried out, so stressed. The attorney, he realized that he's going to lose right away. I mean, he was no grounds to stand on. We went outside. And McCoy came to me and said, let's walk it out. I spoke to my attorney. I figured that it's going to cost me, if he's going to appeal, I'm not going to be defended by the title company. I'll have to put the money out of my own pocket. And he said, you're looking at about $30,000 to $50,000 of attorney fees if he's going to appeal, and most likely he will. I said, just walk it out. So I did. We ended up giving him $30,000, and we ended up with the property. So basically, we were in altogether about $150,000 in the end. We did
still a good deal. You bought it for $100. Now you're in for $150 with legal fees. Settlement.
We sold it immediately. The 4 lots were sold for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times for what we paid for it.
Sometimes you got
right away. So you had everything there. We had, what was the historical feud that the McCoys against it's an old post-Civil War famous feud between the McCoys. I forgot the other family. But
have you named any subsequent businesses or things that you've done, McCoy or anything after this guy? No.
No, it was like I told you before, it was later that year I took an exam to become a a licensed title agent.
Yeah, that's what got you. That's not what got you into the title business, but that immediately preceded you. For a stint, you had an investment in a title company, correct?
Well, we had a title company already there. We had fantastic crew working and all that. Yeah. And the title companies, the underwriters, back then it was lawyers, asked us to have somebody licensed in the office. It became a requirement. And the crew I had, which was extremely knowledgeable, fantastic crew, they were not ready to take the test, so I decided to take it myself. Half the questions were, I knew them just because of that case.
Yeah,
it was
from the
really, it had everything in it.
Education.
Right. It was right. It was 2 years, but I learned a lot.
Yeah.
It was quite.
Learned stuff from those crazy, messed up situations. We have about 5 or 10 minutes, but I want to hear, tell me one more thing. What's the most notable thing? If somebody says the biggest deal you've done, or the most notable deal, the thing you're most proud of in your business life when it comes to real estate development, but whatever it is, what would you call it?
Pier 35.5.
Tell me about that project quickly. What did that become?
I was involved when we had the brokerage, the Wycott brokerage that I had in ownership with El Medini and myself. We became the listing agents for a project called Waterfront Square. It was.
You weren't involved in the development of Waterfront Square.
I was involved at one point with the principals at the acquisition, and then we were the brokers. We were also the title agents for that.
Waterfront Square, for those who don't know, became a 5 towers. Are there 5 towers there now?
Originally, it was supposed to be 5 towers. There are 3 up. 2.
I thought they ultimately put the other 2 up. No,
they did not.
Okay.
No,
there's 3 high-rise towers on the waterfront, which is now, I guess, considered Frankfurt, Fishtown. At the time, it was like an island out in the middle of nowhere. Nothing was near it. Now there's plenty of things near it, and there's lots of development north, south of it. Correct. Columbus Boulevard in Philadelphia.
North, south, east, and west of Columbus.
Everywhere. Now it's quite well located.
Right.
But only recently, for years in the 2000s, it was a beautiful development, gated, nice high-rise buildings, really nice buildings, but definitely not in the center of things, for sure.
Right. It was a bit out, but, they thought that things are going to develop like crazy over there.
They were right. It was just early.
There were a lot of plans to what used to be the old incinerator. Now there's a big project coming over there at the end of Spring Garden and Delaware.
So many multifamilies now. There's so much
multifamilies and all that.
It's crazy.
I wish there would be more good commercial, but then they have just to the south of it.
There's a super interesting project that's just north of that, and I'm going to forget the name of the project, but it's not worthy of telling the story because I don't remember the name of the project, but it's a beautiful, large project, and it's mixed use. It's mostly multifamily, but there's some offices in there as well, and it's in a Keystone Opportunity Zone.
Oh, really?
Which makes it super interesting for, there's a huge potential tax advantage for the right companies and the right tenants on the office side of things. But anyway, the Waterfront Square thing, great project.
So Waterfront Square was a great project. Well, actually, it was the beginning of times were fantastic, and then I think changed rapidly, and we got to 2007-8, and everything went down when they built building number 3.
Yeah, right in the middle of that.
I mean, building 1 and 2 was sold in no time. I'm talking building 1 was sold at the tent at the grand opening. They were out of building number 1, 127 units or so. Building 2 was 146 or 64, I forgot. That opened up immediately after building 1. So we had the Peninsula, the Regatta. They opened up at the grand opening. We thought that it was going to take us a couple of years to sell, but the pre-sales were in less than 2 weeks.
That's wild. That's wild. And when that happens, it's not a lot in life where it happens like that, where you catch lightning in a bottle. And it feels good when you're like, it's going to take me a couple of years to do this thing. And then boom, it happens in 2 weeks.
Oh, it happened. Fantastic. I mean, it's a materializer doing construction, but the pre-sales were fantastic.
Yeah.
But when time came to build building number 3, the market was already stale. It was down. It was
right at that time, 06, 07, 08, when all this was going on.
That is correct.
If you got caught with your pants down past 2008, you were stuck for 4 years. That's it.
Yeah. But the thing is, not about Waterfront Square. The principals also purchased the pier next door. They thought they're going to develop it next. It was Pier 35.5, and they bought this property with intention to develop, but interesting happened. I was approached by a group of New York investors asking me if I know of properties around that they want to develop, and asking for the budget, and they told me they were looking at 2 projects. One of them was Fifth and Walnut, that today there's a high-rise building over there.
Yeah, I know the building.
And
high-end, single-floor resident, that building?
Right.
Yes.
And another one, and Fifth and Walnut was the one they really wanted, but the German that owned it kept on going up with the price. Eventually he asked for $8 million. He ended up asking them $12 million.
So a lot of risk to do that project, because it worked out, but it was, that was
well, I'll tell you a story about this one in a second, but about Fifth and Walnut. But I suggested to him for the same price, for about $10 million, I can get him something on the waterfront that is right next to a big development. It was Pier 35.5. He put it under agreement, and then he turned into a Trump Tower. So it was designed as a Trump Tower.
I remember.
It was probably, I don't want to tell you how much I made, but it was the quickest and highest commission I ever made on a single deal. They bought it. They paid Trump to put his name on it.
And then it never happened.
And it didn't happen for a crazy reason. The governor then, Ed Rendell, decided that the water, basically the riverbed is owned by the state. On that side of the river, and they decided that they're going to put a moratorium on all the development until they realize what the people should get for giving away, state property. So they put a moratorium for that was for a whole year, and then they came up with the number. But that year killed pretty much the deal completely. That's
2007.
It shut it down to this day.
I remember when it happened, and I didn't know that's why it stopped the project. But also maybe it's a blessing, and because had they started that project and been mid-construction and then had units to sell in 2008-9, that could have been an even bigger problem.
But Trump got his money.
He got his money. He got his royalty money for his name.
And he came to the grand opening and all that. They did.
And who knew? Who would have known, right? Then. Wow.
I'll tell you one thing about Fifth and Walnut. Okay, that's another thing. After that, you edit whatever you want.
No, it's wrapped up with that.
But Fifth and Walnut,
it's a great one.
Was after that incident with the fellow that owned it, rejected the offers, he lost it to the bank. Okay, same thing. Now we're talking now to 2007, 2008. He lost it to the bank, and the bank had, I think, a loan of about $4 or $5 million, and that was second mortgage of, and so on and so on. In 2011. Okay, after we had really bad years, I bought I put this property under agreement for $2.8 million. You're talking from $12 million. I had it under agreement from the bank at $2.8 million. And it was supposed to be a 45-day settlement. And it was in 45 days. We were supposed to settle prior to, just before Christmas. I think it was December 22 was supposed to be the settlement. And I realized the bank, in the agreement, there were 2 leases that had precedence over the mortgage. So basically, when the bank foreclosed, the 2 leases were recorded prior to them giving the mortgage. The bank agreed. So these 2 5-year leases pretty much prevented development of this site. We ended up having this property under agreement for about 8 months.
Okay.
And 2011 to 2012. And for the life of me, I mean, we brought every single developer to try to come and join us. Nobody believed in the project. We ended up losing about $200,000 on it. And then immediately after we lost the agreement, the bank took it back. And sold it to one of the guys that we tried to bring. Was kind of picky, and what's his name?
I think Parkway was involved, no?
And they bought it. The people that we brought originally, they ended up with the property. They developed this magnificent
and now they
tower.
built this crazy thing.
And they paid the bank about, I think, $800,000 more than what we did.
Right, which doesn't matter because the property,
Doesn't matter.
the development had
But
plenty of value.
crazy deals.
Yeah,
There's some,
yeah. Crazy deals.
there's some misses that we had.
I'm sure.
But
I'm sure there's misses, but there's a lot
my
of
office
hits.
is around the corner over there on
Yeah.
2nd and Chestnut. And every time I drive on Walnut, I see it. And,
Yep. Yeah, you pass it, and but you wouldn't have developed that thing that was uniquely theirs to develop.
No, it was fantastic.
Yeah,
it was at the time that I had it under agreement. The bank won a court case, appeal court case, to develop the building that you see there now.
Yeah,
it was fought by the property next door, the insurance company that sold it to them.
Yeah,
originally, and they objected the building there. I think it's a 26-story building.
Yeah.
And the bank won the appeal case.
Yeah.
They fought them and they won. So that building that you see over there is pretty much the building that was designed
for that space
originally by the fellow that lost it to the bank.
Good stories. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
There's more, and I want to have you back again soon.
I would love to.
Not too far. There's going to be plenty more to tell, and I want to hear them all because I feel like we can go on all day. So it was a pleasure. I appreciate it. I want to hear more about you, too. We don't have time today, but we're going to talk more about you, your career. Next time, we're going to talk about it all.